This is Think Out Loud on OPB. I'm Dave Miller. 2 decades ago, there were about 10 indigenous plant nurseries in the country. Since then, that number has blossomed to around 100, including one operated by the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. That is where I am right now. Gail Redberg is a nursery manager. Gail, thanks so much for letting us come by.
Thank you for inviting me to be on the show.
Where are we right now?
Right now we're standing outside of our 1929 barn that used to be a pheasant farm, and now it has become our place of storage and work here at the nursery. And in front of us we have a blue elderberry bush, and to the right is a chokecherry bush. And the chokecherry is one of the highest rated plants in the first foods policy of the tribes, and is served at every longhouse dinner, every funeral, every gathering. It's one of the several foods that are served, and it's a little bit bitter, but actually these are pretty tasty. You should taste some.
Are they ready? Are they ripe?
Yeah, they're ready
gorgeous.
right now. We just got done picking some that we could reach.
All right. I don't know if I've had these before.
Yeah, try it. Just a tiny bitter, but they're a little sweet too.
Okay. Oh, there's a seed.
Yeah.
I was not expecting.
Yeah, it's a cherry.
Yeah.
They have a little
The
pucker.
seed makes up most of,
Yeah.
of the size of the circle.
Well, and
But yeah.
that's the case with almost all native plants.
Yeah. Then the sweetness does come.
Right. And then the blue elderberry is very high in antioxidants and is often used as a syrup. So make a syrup with the berries and use it as a tonic to ward off flus and other colds. A lot of people started using it during COVID.
Can you take me into one of the greenhouses here?
Sure.
How long have you been doing this?
15 years.
And before that?
And before that, I taught biology for 20 years.
To high schoolers?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so right here, this is a red osier dogwood, which is a wonderful plant. I just love it. It has bright red stems during the wintertime when the leaves fall off and the sun activates all of those beautiful pigments. And was my first native plant that I ever acquired.
As you walked by, you just tenderly grabbed the leaves and gave them a gentle enough squeeze that they didn't come off, but sort of saying hello to the plant, it seems like.
Right. So this is our longest house. It's the first place where we sow our seeds and care for them until they have filled out a cone that's 8.5 inches deep and about 1.5 inches across. That's called a 10 cubic inch cone. And it's widely used in all sorts of that size of container. It's widely used in all sorts of conservation projects.
So instead of a big sort of bucket, it's a relatively narrow, almost 1 inch diameter cone that goes down 8 inches for the roots.
Right. And so the purpose of that is to get the roots as long as possible before they're outplanted, because most of our plants are being planted in areas where nature is going to be the only caretaker, and we want those roots to get down and be able to be as functional as possible in finding and utilizing water in the soil.
I hadn't thought of that. So as we walk a little bit away from these huge fans here, that unlike some commercial nurseries or other nurseries where the idea is that there's going to be a home gardener or a landscaper or some human tending it, almost all of these, when they're eventually planted, no one's going to tend to them ever again.
Right. In this part of the country, because we have our precipitation is so low, we do generally water for the first and second summers, but then after that they're on their own. And of course, a lot of the habitat managers will put up fencing to prevent the elk and deer from foraging on them.
They would like these young shoots.
Oh, yes.
These things
The elk
they would
especially,
look
they
tasty
just
to an
pull
elk.
them right out of the ground. Yeah.
There are, it seems to me, dozens of different species just
Yes.
in this one greenhouse.
Right. So right behind you, there are some quaking aspen. I think most people are familiar with quaking aspen. They grow at higher elevations, and these actually were created or grown out for a project for the Warm Springs Indian Reservation.
So you do work for other native tribes in Oregon?
Yes, yes. We have sold plants to Yakima, Burns Paiute, Warm Springs.
Do you have favorites here?
Well, I really like this plant that's right behind you. It's an Oregon grape, believe it or not. It is very small. It's a creeping Oregon grape, and it has fronds or branches that come up like a fern frond, and these are really beautiful. Underneath a glade of water birch, it's just like fairyland.
How do you all decide what to grow here?
The tribe has managers for 5 different watersheds that are within the ceded territories of the tribe, and those managers have several different restoration projects going on at a time, and to help the stream to become more, to
I've
restore
gotten
salmon habit in the stream.
as
I'm
you were
having a really
talking.
hard time.
No, that's fine, because as you were talking, I thought that some overhanging piping was moving towards me. I thought, no, it's not. But it turns out it is. It's sort of this kind of roboticized sprinkler system, which was moving towards us, and now it's moving away, and it is watering these plants automatically.
Right. This is a great invention. It's a boom sprinkler. The carriage comes down the aisle of the house, the center aisle, and the booms extend out to the sides on both sides, covering all the tables. Because we have so many different types of species that we're growing, then they all have different water requirements. It's really nice because we can program a different program for every table or even parts of tables.
And the system knows exactly what's underneath it because you've programmed it.
Right. You tell it where you want that program to start, how fast it should move, and for how many passes.
So you were saying that salmon habitat restoration managers are the ones who say, we would like to plant X or Y plants along this tributary or stream or along this river, and so please grow them for us?
Yes, that's pretty much it. They will be, depending on the experience of the habitat managers, they may seek our advice on what plants would do well on that habitat. So I'll do a site visit to the project, and we'll talk about what kinds of plants would do the job that they need to have done. For instance, some plants that we grow produce a lot of really profuse roots and rhizomes, like the snowberry, and so those hold in soil along the stream banks. And others, in other areas, there's wetlands, and there's just an upland area that for plants that don't require as much water. So we kind of help them guide them in that species list.
Where do you get all the seeds or seedlings that turn into these plants?
We gather from all of the ceded territories of the tribe, which is much, much larger than the reservation itself. It goes halfway up in Washington and down to Baker City area and across to close to Tri-Cities.
So you and others fan out at different times of the year to places that you know and collect seeds that you can then grow here in these greenhouses?
We try to get seed from several different elevations so that they will match the project site that they're going to be going into, so we can select from those seeds to match up the appropriate elevation with each one. With climate change, all of that strategy has become a lot more fluid. So one of the, after a plant starts growing, it can't just get up and move. So we try to have seed from a wider variety of locations, so it because we don't know exactly what kind of difficulties they're going to face as they're growing.
These are, the whole idea is that these are native plants that have been on this land for, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe longer, as opposed to plants that have been bred and selected for ease of human growing. Does that make it harder for you to raise them here, in a sense, in captivity?
Certainly. For many reasons, but just for example, the DNA of these native plants it has a lot of variation. So there will be seeds that will germinate maybe in February, and then in that same species, that same group of seeds, maybe even from the same plant, there will be seeds that will not germinate until August or September. And so instead of being able to plant all of your crop at one time, we go with the flow, so to speak, because we don't want to lose any of those genetics. Because the ones that are germinating in September likely have some really important characteristics that we don't want to lose, as far as ability of fighting disease or drought or freezing or whatever the case may be.
What drew you to this job? I mean, as you said, that you spent 20 years as a biology teacher. I imagine there are a lot of connections between a background in biology and the knowledge required for running a place like this, but the actual work seems very different. Why did you want to do this?
Well, I had been teaching students about conservation and about having a reciprocal relationship with the earth and giving back and not taking everything for granted. Recognizing that our success as a species depends on the health of the earth and all of the interaction between different life forms to continue that health. And so I just got to the place where I really wanted to be out doing conservation work and not just talking about it. I've learned a tremendous amount since I've quit teaching. I mean, you learn all your life, but this has been a great experience. One of the things that that just thrills my heart is how courageous these plants are. We don't oftentimes think of courage as an attribute of plants, but when you think about a seed that lands in a place that just has a tiny bit of soil, maybe a little crack in the rock, that courage, I think that's courage. It's the will to live, and I think that every living thing has that. And so my first year when I first came here, there were a lot of dead plants out in the pot yard, and we put them in the compost pile because we were going to take the pots off and save the soil later, but we didn't have time right away. It rained the next week, and a week after I walked past it, and all these little green leaves were coming up. And the dead plants had crispy, powdery leaves on them.
That's why you threw them away.
Yes, but they still had that strength to keep going, to be able to. I mean, I know it's not just a spiritual thing; it's a chemical thing as well. But it doesn't make it any less amazing.
Well, while we're talking about the more spiritual side of this, what's it like for you when these plants that you have raised and tended, when they get shipped off to go be planted somewhere?
Well, it feels really good when you go out and visit the site 2 or 3 years later and you see them flourishing. What's really hard is when you have sent off your project load of several, trailers and pickups and load full of plants to go up into the mountains, and then the Hagen fire or another fire comes along and destroys them all the very next year. I mean, that's hard.
Has that been happening just this month?
Right. In fact, most of our seed collection is right in the middle of the Hagen fire. So we have to find new sources of seed. Just have to go a little bit further, work a little harder.
Gail, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Gail Redberg manages the native plant nursery on the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation.